The first drops of rain struck the concrete like tiny bullets, each one a harbinger of the deluge to come. Camila Rodriguez pulled her thin cardigan tighter around her swollen belly, the fabric offering little protection against the sudden Phoenix downpour. At 8 months pregnant, every movement required careful consideration, but the weather had given her no choice but to seek shelter at the covered bus stop on Central Avenue. Her phone buzzed with another message from Marcus. "Babe, so sorry. Emergency client meeting just came up. You know how it is with the Henderson deal. Take the bus home. I'll make it up to you this weekend. Love you both." Camila stared at the screen, disappointment settling in her chest like a stone. This was supposed to be their evening. Dinner at Romano's, the little Italian place where they'd had their first date 5 years ago. She'd been looking forward to it all week, especially after spending the day fielding calls from contractors about the nursery renovation that seemed to hit every possible snag. Another cancellation? The gentle voice came from beside her. Rosa Martinez, her elderly neighbor, appeared with a large black umbrella and a warm smile that reached her weathered eyes. "I'm afraid so," Camila sighed, accepting the offered shelter gratefully. Marcus had to handle some crisis at work. The Henderson property deal, apparently. Rose's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, a flicker of something that might have been concern. On a Thursday evening? That's dedication. Thunder rolled overhead, and the rain intensified, drumming against the metal bus shelter with increasing urgency. Camila checked her phone again. 6:47 p.m. The bus schedule showed. Another 20 minutes before the next arrival. "You shouldn't be out in this weather, Mia," Rosa said, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd raised 6 children. "Not in your condition." Meanwhile, 15 miles across town in the climate-controlled sanctuary of Prestige Motors, Marcus Chun stood admiring the gleaming midnight blue Porsche 911 Turbo S that dominated the showroom floor. The car was a masterpiece of German engineering, its curves both aggressive and sensual under the carefully positioned spotlights. "She's a beauty, isn't she?" Derek, the sales manager, ran his hand along the car's hood with practiced reverence. "Limited edition, only 1,963 ever made. This particular model has the exclusive jet black interior with racing yellow accents." Beside Marcus, Vivian Blake pressed closer, her perfectly manicured hand resting on his forearm. At 24, she was a vision of carefully curated perfection, her honey blonde hair cascading in waves, her emerald dress hugging every curve. She'd built her lifestyle blog into a small empire, showcasing the finer things in life that her followers could only dream of. "It's perfect," she breathed, her voice carrying that breathy quality that had first captivated Marcus at a real estate networking event 3 months ago. "The color is so sophisticated, so ... me." Marcus felt his chest swell with pride. This was power, the ability to make dreams come true with a simple signature. The car cost more than most people made in 2 years, but he'd been planning this moment for weeks. The commission from the Henderson deal alone would cover it, with plenty left over. "The performance specs are incredible," Derek continued, opening the driver's door to reveal the luxurious interior. 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds. Top speed of 205 miles per hour. It's not just a car. It's a statement. Vivian slid into the driver's seat, her eyes closing as she gripped the steering wheel. "I can already imagine the photos this will make. My followers are going to die." Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket, probably Camila wondering where he was. He'd sent the excuse text an hour ago, the lie flowing from his fingertips with practiced ease. The Henderson deal was real enough, but it had been wrapped up that morning. His real client was Vivian, and she was worth every penny of this investment. "So, Mr. Chun," Derek said, producing a leather portfolio, "shall we discuss the financing options?" "No financing necessary," Marcus replied, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what he was about to do. "I'll be paying cash." The number was staggering. $167,500, not including taxes and fees. To afford it, Marcus had done something he'd never imagined himself capable of just months ago. He'd quietly liquidated their emergency fund, the money he and Camila had been saving for unexpected expenses during the pregnancy. In his mind, he'd justified it as a temporary reallocation. He'd replace it with the next commission, maybe even double it. Back at the bus stop, Camila's phone finally surrendered to the inevitable, its screen going black despite her attempts to coax more life from the dying battery. The rain had turned the evening into a watercolor painting, blurring the city lights into impressionist streaks of amber and red. "You know," Rosa said carefully, "I've lived in this neighborhood for 32 years. I've seen a lot of marriages, a lot of families. Sometimes when a man starts working late more often—" "Marcus isn't like that," Camila interrupted, though her voice lacked conviction. "He's under a lot of pressure. The real estate market has been crazy this year." Rosa nodded, but her expression remained thoughtful. "Of course, Mia. I just think a pregnant woman shouldn't have to wait for buses in thunderstorms. That's all." The bus finally arrived with a mechanical wheeze, its headlights cutting through the rain like lighthouse beams. As Camila climbed aboard, Rosa pressed a small piece of paper into her hand. "My phone number," she said, "just in case you ever need someone to talk to." As the bus pulled away from the curb, Camila watched Rosa's figure disappear into the rain-soaked night. She settled into her seat, one hand resting on her belly where the baby was beginning to stir, and couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted in her world, something that had nothing to do with the storm outside. Across town, Marcus was signing papers while Vivian posed for selfies beside her new car, her social media captions already forming in her mind. "When he really loves you, he shows it in midnight blue. Hashtag blessed, hashtag Porsche life, hashtag spoiled girl, hashtag living my best life." Neither of them noticed the small crowd of onlookers that had gathered outside the dealership, some of whom were already reaching for their phones to capture the moment when Marcus Chun, respected real estate mogul and devoted husband, handed over the keys to his very expensive secret. The house felt different when Camila finally made it home, though she couldn't pinpoint exactly why. Maybe it was the way the silence seemed to echo off the walls, or how the family photos lining the hallway suddenly felt like evidence of a life she wasn't sure she recognized anymore. Her clothes were still damp from the rain, and her feet ached from the walk from the bus stop to their suburban Phoenix home. She plugged her phone into the kitchen charger and waited for it to spring back to life. The familiar chime of notifications felt like a digital avalanche. Missed calls from Marcus, texts from her sister Nina, and a dozen social media alerts she'd ignored throughout the day. She scrolled through them mechanically, her mind still, processing Rose's careful words about marriages and working late. Instagram opened to her usual feed, a friend's anniversary dinner, her cousin's new puppy, a sponsored ad for pregnancy vitamins. But then, buried in the stories section, she saw something that made her blood run cold. It was a repost from Phoenix Social Scene, a local gossip account that tracked the wealthy and famous around the city. The video was short, maybe 15 seconds, shot from across the street. But the subject was unmistakable, a midnight blue Porsche 911 Turbo S gleaming under dealership lights. A man in an expensive suit was opening the passenger door for a stunning blonde woman in an emerald dress. The woman slid into the driver's seat with practiced elegance, blowing a kiss toward the camera before the man closed the door and walked around to the passenger side. Even from a distance, even in the shaky footage, Camila recognized that walk. The confident stride, the way he carried his shoulders, the gesture he made when running his hand through his hair. It was Marcus. The caption read, "Real Estate Mogul. Marcus Chun dropping serious cash on a new ride for lifestyle blogger Vivian Blake. Some guys know how to treat their ladies. Hashtag Porsche Life, hashtag Phoenix Elite, hashtag Relationship Goals." Camila's hands began to shake. She replayed the video once, twice, 10 times, each viewing confirming what her heart already knew, but her mind refused to accept. She tapped on Vivian Blake's profile with trembling fingers. The woman's Instagram was a carefully curated showcase of luxury. Designer handbags, 5-star restaurants, exotic vacations, all funded by what Camila now realized were Marcus's business trips and client dinners. The latest post, uploaded just 2 hours ago, showed Vivian posing seductively against the hood of the blue Porsche. "When he really loves you, he shows it in midnight blue," the caption read. "Thank you for making all my dreams come true, baby. Hashtag blessed, hashtag Porsche life, hashtag spoiled girl, hashtag living my best life, hashtag my man spoils me." The comment section was a chorus of admiration and envy. "Goals. You're so lucky. He's a keeper." Each heart emoji and fire symbol felt like a slap across Camila's face. Her phone rang, Nina's name flashing on the screen. Camila answered on the first ring, her voice barely a whisper. "Camila? You sound weird. Are you okay?" The words came out in a rush, tumbling over each other in her haste to make sense of the nightmare unfolding on her phone screen. "Nina, I need you to come over. Right now. Something's wrong. Marcus ... there's a car ... another woman." "I'm on my way," Nina replied without hesitation. "Don't do anything until I get there. And whatever you do, don't confront him yet. Nina." Rodriguez arrived within 20 minutes, her cybersecurity expertise and fierce protective instincts making her the perfect person for this crisis. At 26, she was everything Camila wasn't: technologically savvy, suspicious by nature, and absolutely ruthless when someone threatened her family. "Show me everything," Nina said, settling beside Camila on the couch with her laptop already open. Together, they dove into the digital evidence. Nina's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up financial records, cross-referencing social media posts, and building a timeline of Marcus's deception. What they found was worse than Camila had imagined. "Look at this," Nina said, pointing to their joint checking account. 3 days ago, he transferred $50,000 to an account I don't recognize. And here, last week, another $25,000 to the same place." Camila stared at the screen in disbelief. "That's our emergency fund. That's the money we saved for the baby's delivery, for complications, for anything that might go wrong." "It gets worse," Nina continued, her jaw clenched with anger. "I found the registration for the Porsche. Guess whose name is on the title? Marcus Chun. And guess how much he paid for it? $167,500. The number hit Camila like a physical blow. She doubled over, her hands instinctively protecting her belly, as waves of nausea crashed over her. "He told me we couldn't afford a new crib," she whispered. "He said we needed to be careful with money because of the baby." Nina's expression hardened. "There's more. I found Vivian's Venmo account. It's public, because of course it is. Look at these transactions." The screen filled with payments. From Marcus to Vivian, each one tagged with heart emojis and inside jokes. Dinner at the city's most expensive restaurant. A weekend trip to Sedona. Designer jewelry. Spa treatments. The total over 3 months was staggering. "He's been living a completely different life," Camila breathed. "While I've been clipping coupons and shopping at thrift stores for baby clothes, he's been ... He's been ... He's been playing sugar daddy to a woman half his age," Nina finished. Bluntly, using money that should have been going to his pregnant wife and unborn child. The front door opened with a familiar jingle of keys. Marcus's voice carried through the house, cheerful and oblivious. "Camilla? Sorry I'm so late. The Henderson deal was even more complicated than we thought, but I think we got it sorted out." Nina quickly closed the laptop and grabbed Camilla's hand. "Remember what I said. Don't confront him yet. We need to gather more evidence first. Act normal." Marcus appeared in the doorway, his expensive suit slightly wrinkled, his smile bright but somehow hollow. He was carrying a small bouquet of grocery store flowers, cheap daisies that probably cost less than the tip he'd left at whatever restaurant he'd taken Vivian to. "Hey, Nina," he said, his tone carefully neutral. The two had never gotten along, and Nina's protective instincts had always made him uncomfortable. "What brings you by?" "Just checking on my pregnant sister," Nina replied, her voice pleasant but her eyes sharp. "You know how it is. Family taking care of family." Marcus's smile faltered slightly. "Of course. How was your day, babe?" He leaned down to kiss Camilla's forehead, and she had to force herself not to pull away. His cologne was different, expensive and unfamiliar. "Fine," Camilla managed, accepting the flowers with hands that shook slightly. "Just tired." "Well, you should get some rest," Marcus said, loosening his tie. "Big day tomorrow. I have 3 showings lined up, and then that evening meeting with the Morrison Group." Another lie, Camilla realized. According to Vivian's Instagram stories, they had dinner reservations at Nobu tomorrow night. She watched her husband's face as he spoke, searching for any sign of guilt or remorse, but found only the practiced smoothness of a man who had perfected the art of deception. "I think I'll head home," Nina said, standing and gathering her things. "But I'll call you tomorrow, Camilla. We still need to finish planning the baby shower." As Nina left, she squeezed Camilla's shoulder, a silent promise that this wasn't over, that justice was coming. Alone with Marcus for the first time since her devastating discovery, Camilla felt the weight of knowledge pressing down on her like a physical force. Every casual touch, every affectionate word, every shared glance felt like a betrayal of their history together. "You seem tense," Marcus observed, settling beside her on the couch. "Everything okay?" Camilla looked at him, really looked at him, and saw a stranger wearing her husband's face. "Just pregnancy stuff," she lied, the words bitter on her tongue. "You know how it is." "Well, you'll feel better after this weekend," he said, pulling her close. "I promise I'll make up for missing dinner tonight." As he held her, Camilla closed her eyes and tried to remember the man she'd married. But all she could see was the footage of him buying another woman a car worth more than most people's annual salary, while his pregnant wife stood alone in the rain, waiting for a bus that might never come. Tomorrow, she would confront him. Tonight, she would gather her strength and prepare for the battle of her life. The next evening arrived with the inevitability of a storm front, and Camilla felt every charged particle in the air. She had spent the day preparing printing screenshots, organizing financial records, and rehearsing the words that would either save her marriage or destroy it entirely. Nina sat across from her at the kitchen table, her laptop open and recording software ready. "Remember," Nina said, her voice steady and professional, "stay calm. Stick to the facts. Don't let him gaslight you or make this about your hormones or your pregnancy. You have evidence. You have proof. You have the truth." Camilla nodded, one hand resting on her belly where the baby seemed to sense the tension, kicking restlessly against her ribs. She had dressed carefully for this moment, not the comfortable maternity clothes she'd been living in, but the black dress she'd worn to their last anniversary dinner. If this was going to be the end of her marriage, she wanted to face it with dignity. The front door opened at exactly 7:23 p.m., just as Marcus had texted. His voice carried through the house, artificially cheerful. "Camilla, I'm home." And I brought Thai food from that place you like. In the kitchen, she called back, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. Marcus appeared in the doorway, still in his work clothes, but with his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. He looked tired but pleased with himself, like a man who'd successfully navigated another day of complex deceptions. The takeout bag in his hand smelled like pad thai and lies. "Hey, babe," he said, setting the food on the counter and moving to kiss her cheek. "How was your day? You look beautiful, by the way. That dress always looks amazing on you." "It should," Camilla replied quietly. "You bought it for me 3 years ago. Do you remember? You said you wanted to spoil me, to show me how much you loved me." Something in her tone made him pause. His eyes flicked to Nina, who was sitting silently at the table with her laptop, then back to Camilla. "Of course I remember. What's going on? Why is Nina here?" "Sit down, Marcus," Camilla said, gesturing to the chair across from her. "We need to talk." He remained standing, his posture shifting from casual to defensive. "About what? And why does Nina need to be here for it?" "Because," Camilla said, her voice gaining strength, "I want a witness to what you're about to tell. Me. I want someone to hear your explanations for this." She slid the first printed screenshot across the table. It was the Phoenix social scene video, freeze-framed on the moment Marcus handed the car keys to Vivian Blake. His face went pale, then flushed red. "Camilla, I can explain. Can you?" She slid another image across the table. "Can you explain? Why you're buying $167,500 cars for other women while your pregnant wife takes the bus because you said we couldn't afford to fix our Honda?" Marcus's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. His eyes darted between the evidence and the two women watching him, calculating his options. "It's not what it looks like," he finally managed. "Then what is it?" Camilla's voice was deadly calm. "Because to me, it looks like you're having an affair. It looks like you're stealing money from our accounts to fund a relationship with a woman named Vivian Blake. It looks like you've been lying to me for months." "She's a client," Marcus said, his voice gaining confidence as he fell back on his prepared story. "A very important client. The car was a business expense, a way to secure a major deal. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand the financial intricacies." Nina snorted with disgust. "A business expense? Is that what you call the $3,000 you spent on her jewelry last month? Or the $5,000 weekend trip to Sedona? Or the dozens of expensive dinners?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Those are legitimate business expenses. Client entertainment. It's tax deductible." "Stop," Camilla said, her voice cutting through his excuses like a blade. "Just stop lying to me. I've seen her Instagram. I've seen the photos of you two together. I've seen her calling you baby and thanking you for making her dreams come true. You're being paranoid," Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Pregnancy hormones can make women suspicious, make them see things that aren't there." "Pregnancy hormones?" Camilla's voice rose for the first time. "You think this is about pregnancy hormones? You think I'm imagining the financial records? The photos? The videos?" She slid the rest of the evidence across the table. Bank statements, Venmo transactions, social media posts. Each piece of paper was another nail in the coffin of their marriage. "You emptied our emergency fund," she continued, her voice shaking now. "The money we saved for the baby's delivery, for complications, for anything that might go wrong. You spent it on another woman, while I've been living on a budget so tight I've been buying generic prenatal vitamins." Marcus started to respond, but the front door suddenly burst open. High heels clicked against the hardwood floor, and a voice called out, "Marcus? Baby, you left your phone in the car." "I thought you might need it for." Vivian Blake appeared in the kitchen doorway, her words dying in her throat as she took in the scene. She was even more beautiful in person, tall, blonde, and flawless in a way that made Camila feel suddenly, devastatingly ordinary. She wore a tight red dress that showed off her perfect figure, and her makeup was Instagram ready even at 7:30 on a Thursday evening. "Oh," Vivian said, her eyes widening as she processed the situation. "I didn't realize you had company." The silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Camila stared at the woman who had been living the life that should have been hers, while Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "You must be Vivian," Camila said finally, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'm Camila, Marcus's wife." Vivian's perfect composure cracked slightly. "Wife?" "But Marcus said, he told me you were divorced, that the papers were already filed." "Did he?" Camila turned to look at Marcus, who was standing frozen between his two worlds. "Is that what you told her? That you were divorced?" "I can explain," Marcus said desperately. But both women were staring at him now, their expressions identical masks of betrayal and disgust. "You told her we were divorced?" Camila's voice was barely a whisper. "You told her that you're pregnant. Wife didn't exist. Pregnant?" Vivian's voice rose to a shriek. "You're pregnant?" "Marcus, you said. You said she was just your ex-wife, that there were no kids, that you were free too." "I never said that," Marcus interrupted, but his lies were unraveling faster than he could weave new ones. "Yes, you did." Vivian's perfectly composed facade was crumbling. "You said you were single. You said I was the only one. You said you loved me." "I do love you," Marcus said, the words escaping before he could stop them. "I love you both. This is just... it's complicated." The admission hung in the air, like a bomb waiting to explode. Camila felt something break inside her chest. Not her heart, which had been fracturing for months, but something deeper. Her faith in the man she'd married, in the life they'd built, in the very concept of truth itself. "Get out," she said quietly. "Camila, please." "Get out," she repeated, her voice gaining strength. "Both of you. Get out of my house." "This is my house too," Marcus said, his desperation making him cruel. "You can't just..." "I can, and Camila stood, her pregnancy making the movement awkward, but her determination making it powerful. "You made your choice, Marcus. You chose her over me, over our baby, over our marriage. You chose to lie, to steal, to betray everything we built together. So now I'm making my choice. Get out." Vivian was already backing toward the door, her phone clutched in her hand. "I didn't know," she said, her voice small and broken. "I swear, I didn't know about any of this." He said, ... He said you were divorced." "Well, now you know," Camila replied. "Now you know what kind of man you've been sleeping with. The kind who abandons his pregnant wife for a younger woman. The kind who steals money from his unborn child's future to buy toys for his mistress." Marcus looked between them, his face a mask of panic and regret. "Camila, please. Let me explain. Let me make this right." "You can't make this right," Camila said, her voice final. "You can't unfuck her. You can't unsteal our money. You can't unlive the last 3 months of lies. It's over, Marcus. We're over." As they left, Vivian fleeing in tears, Marcus trailing. Behind with hollow protests, Camila sank back into her chair. The house felt different now, lighter somehow, as if a poison had been drawn from the air. Ninia reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You did the right thing," she said softly. "I know," Camila replied, her hand moving to her belly. "I know I did." For the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe. The law office of Sullivan and Associates occupied the 15th floor of a glass tower in downtown Phoenix, its windows offering a panoramic view of the city that had become the battleground for Camila's future. She sat across from James Sullivan, a man in his mid-40s whose reputation for dismantling unfaithful spouses was legendary in Phoenix legal circles. "Mrs. Chun," Sullivan said, his voice carrying the weight of experience and the promise of justice, "I've reviewed the evidence you and your sister compiled. I have to say, it's quite comprehensive. Your husband wasn't particularly careful about covering his tracks." Camila shifted uncomfortably in her chair, her pregnancy making even the most expensive furniture feel inadequate. "I keep thinking I should have seen it sooner. The signs were all there. Narcissistic cheaters are often skilled manipulators." Sullivan replied, his tone gentle but matter-of-fact. "They gaslight their victims, make them question their own perceptions. The important thing is that you see it now, and you're taking action." Nina sat beside her sister, a laptop bag slung over her shoulder and a folder thick with printed evidence in her lap. "What are our options?" she asked, her voice sharp with protective anger. Sullivan leaned back in his leather chair, his fingers steepled. "Given the financial fraud, and make no mistake, that's what this is, we have several avenues. He used marital assets to purchase gifts for his mistress. He emptied accounts that were meant for your child's future. In Arizona, that's considered waste of marital assets." "What does that mean, practically?" Camila asked. "It means he's going to pay," Sullivan said with a slight smile. "We're going to pursue full recovery of all funds he spent on this affair, plus damages. The car, the trips, the jewelry. He's going to have to account for every penny." The meeting was interrupted by Sullivan's assistant, who knocked gently before entering. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but Mrs. Chun has a call. It's Dr. Wells from Phoenix General. She says it's urgent." Camila's blood ran cold. Dr. Patricia Wells was her obstetrician, a woman who didn't make urgent calls lightly. "Can I take it here?" "Of course," Sullivan said, pressing a button on his desk phone. "Dr. Wells? This is James Sullivan. I have Camila Chun here with me." "Camila?" Dr. Wells' voice filled the room, professional, but tinged with concern. "I need you to come to the hospital immediately. Your blood pressure readings from yesterday's appointment were concerning, and the stress you mentioned experiencing. I want to run some tests." "Is the baby okay?" Camila asked, her hand instinctively moving to her belly. "The baby is fine for now, but we need to monitor you closely. Preeclampsia can develop quickly, especially during times of extreme stress. Can you come in within the hour?" Camila looked at Sullivan, who nodded immediately. "Go," he said. "We'll continue this when you're cleared by your doctor. In the meantime, I'll start filing the preliminary paperwork." An hour later, Camila found herself in a hospital bed, monitors beeping softly around her while Dr. Wells reviewed her chart. The older woman's expression was serious, but not alarmed, the look of someone who had seen this scenario many times before. "Your blood pressure is elevated, but not dangerously so," Dr. Wells explained. "However, given the stress you're under, I want to keep you for observation overnight. Emotional trauma can have very real physical effects, especially during pregnancy." "I can't stay overnight," Camila protested. "I have so much to do. The divorce, the finances, finding a new place to live." "Camila," Dr. Wells said firmly, "your health and your baby's health are the priority right now. Everything else can wait 24 hours. As if summoned by her words, Nina appeared in the doorway with an overnight bag and a determined expression. "I brought clothes and toiletries," she announced. "And I called Rosa. She's bringing dinner later." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do," Nina interrupted. "You're my sister, and you're going through the worst thing that's ever happened to you. I'm not going anywhere." Meanwhile, across town, Marcus sat in his car outside the Prestige Motors dealership, staring at his phone. The screen showed 17 missed calls from his business partner, 12 from his mother, and 43 from numbers he didn't recognize. Word of the confrontation had spread through Phoenix's tight-knit real estate community with the speed of wildfire. His phone buzzed with a text from his partner. "Need to talk. Now. Office in 20 minutes." The meeting was brutal. Marcus's real estate firm, built on relationships and trust, was hemorrhaging clients. Photos from Vivian's Instagram had been screenshot and shared across every social media platform. The narrative was devastating. Successful. Businessman abandons pregnant wife for younger woman. Uses family money to buy Mistress expensive gifts. "You're toxic," his partner, Robert, said bluntly. The Henderson deal fell through. The Morrison Group canceled their contract. 3 other clients have already called to terminate their agreements. "It's just gossip," Marcus said desperately. "It'll blow over." "It's not gossip when there's video evidence," Robert replied. "It's not gossip when your wife's divorce attorney is already filing motions to freeze your assets." "You're done, Marcus. I'm buying out your share of the firm." The number Robert offered was a fraction of what Marcus's partnership had been worth just days before. But with his reputation in ruins and legal bills mounting, he had no choice but to accept. His phone rang as he sat in the parking lot, processing. The magnitude of his fall from grace. It was Vivian. "Marcus?" Her voice was small, frightened. "I need to talk to you. People are calling me horrible names online. They're saying I'm a homewrecker, a gold digger. I'm losing followers, losing sponsorship deals. This isn't what I signed up for." "I know," Marcus said, his voice hollow. "I'm losing everything too." "Maybe we should take a break," Vivian continued. "Just until this blows over. People are so angry, and I never wanted to hurt anyone. I really thought you were divorced." The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone, realizing that in the space of 48 hours, he had lost his wife, his mistress, his business, and his reputation. The Porsche sat in his driveway, a $167,500 reminder of the moment he had chosen temporary pleasure over permanent happiness. Back at the hospital, Camila was surprised to find herself surrounded by visitors. Rosa had arrived, with homemade soup and her gentle maternal presence. Her neighbor from 2 houses down, Jennifer, had brought flowers and an offer to help with anything she needed. Even Dr. Wells stopped by during her evening rounds, not as a physician, but as a woman who had seen too many marriages destroyed by infidelity. "I've been practicing obstetrics for 25 years, Dr. Wells said quietly. "I've seen women in your situation before. The ones who survive and thrive are the ones who focus on building something new rather than mooring what they've lost." "I don't know how to do that," Camila admitted. "I've been Mrs. Marcus Chun for so long, I don't remember who I was before." "You're about to find out," Rosa said from her chair beside the bed. "And I have a feeling she's going to be magnificent." As the evening wore on, Camila found herself thinking not about Marcus or the betrayal, but about the future. She thought about the baby growing inside her, about the life she would build as a single mother, about the strength she had discovered in herself during the confrontation. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Vivian. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I wanted you to know that I'm prepared to testify in your divorce proceedings. Marcus lied to both of us, and I think you deserve to know the truth about everything." Camila stared at the message for a long moment before showing it to Nina, who whistled low. "Your husband's mistress wants to testify against him," Nina said. "I've seen a lot of divorce cases, but this is a new one." "What do you think I should do?" Camila asked. "I think," Nina said slowly, "that the truth is always better than lies. And if she's willing to help you get justice, then maybe some good can come from this nightmare." As the hospital settled into its nighttime rhythm, Camila felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Hope. Not for her marriage, which was beyond saving, but for herself and her child. She was going to be okay. More than okay, she was. Going to be free. The monitors beeped steadily, measuring not just her vital signs, but the rhythm of a new life beginning. A life built on truth instead of lies, on her own strength instead of someone else's promises. It was going to be difficult, but it was going to be hers. And for the first time in a very long time, that felt like enough. 6 months later, Camila Rodriguez, she had legally reclaimed her maiden name, stood in the kitchen of her new apartment, sunlight streaming through windows that actually opened properly. The space was smaller than the house she'd shared with Marcus, but it felt infinitely larger somehow. Every piece of furniture, every decorative touch, every carefully chosen detail reflected her own taste rather than compromises made with someone else's vision. The apartment complex was in a quiet neighborhood in Tempe, chosen specifically for its proximity to good schools and its community feel. Rosa had helped her find it, using her decades of neighborhood knowledge to identify the perfect place for a fresh start. "Sophia, sweetheart, let's get you ready for your bath," Camila said softly to the baby in her arms. At 3 months old, Sofia Rodriguez was a perfect blend of her parents' features, but with her mother's determined spirit shining through bright, curious eyes. The divorce had been finalized 2 months ago, and the settlement had been more generous. And Camila had dared hope. James Sullivan had been ruthless in his pursuit of justice, recovering not just the money Marcus had stolen, but securing substantial alimony and child support. Vivian's testimony had been devastating to Marcus's case. Her detailed account of his lies and financial deception had painted a picture of a man who had systematically betrayed everyone who trusted him. Marcus's real estate empire had crumbled completely. The scandal had made him toxic in Phoenix's business community, and he'd been forced to sell his remaining assets to pay legal fees and settlement costs. The Porsche, that midnight blue symbol of his betrayal, had been sold at a significant loss, with the proceeds going directly to Sophia's college fund. The doorbell rang, and Camila smiled as she heard Nina's voice calling out, "Aunt Nina is here with coffee and gossip." Nina had been a constant presence throughout the divorce proceedings and the early months of motherhood. Her protective instincts had evolved into something fiercer and more focused. She was now Sophia's self-appointed guardian angel and Camila's chief of staff for rebuilding her life. "How's my beautiful niece?" Nina cooed, taking Sophia from Camila's arms with practiced ease. "And how are you feeling? You look different." "Good different." Camila accepted the coffee gratefully, noting that Nina had remembered exactly how. She liked it, a small kindness that felt enormous in the context of everything that had happened. "I feel free," she said finally. "For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe properly." "Good," Nina said, settling into the comfortable armchair that had been their grandmother's. "Because I have some news. Remember I told you about the support group I found? The one for women who've experienced financial betrayal? Women who won't be fooled again," Camila said, smiling at the deliberately dramatic name. "I remember. They want you to facilitate a session next week. Share your story. Help other women who are going through what you went through. Are you interested?" Camila considered the offer. The idea of turning her pain into purpose, of helping other women navigate the complex emotions and practical challenges of betrayal, felt like it might be exactly what she needed. "I think I'd like that," she said. "I think I'd like that very much." The support group met in a community center in Central Phoenix, a circle of women of various ages and backgrounds, united by the common experience of having their trust shattered by the men they loved. Camila had been nervous about sharing her story, but as she spoke, she felt the familiar sense of lightness that came with telling the truth. "The hardest part," she explained to the group, wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing that I had been living a lie for months without knowing it. It was understanding that while I was planning our future together, he was planning his future with someone else. A woman named Grace, whose husband had gambled away their retirement savings, nodded emphatically. "It's the gaslighting," she said. "The way they make you question your own perceptions, your own sanity." "Exactly," Camilla agreed. "But here's what I learned. Our instincts are usually right. Those little doubts, those moments when something feels off, we should trust those feelings instead of letting someone else convince us they're wrong." After the meeting, Camilla found herself walking to her car alongside a woman named Patricia, whose husband had been embezzling from their joint business to fund an affair with his secretary. "How do you do it?" Patricia asked. "How do you move forward without becoming bitter?" Camilla considered the question carefully. "I think," she said slowly, "it's because I realized that his betrayal said everything about him and nothing about me. I didn't fail as a wife. He failed as a human being. And once I understood that, I could start focusing on building something better instead of mourning what I'd lost." The community center parking lot was well lit, and as they reached their cars, Camilla noticed a man in scrubs walking toward the building. He was tall, with kind eyes and an easy smile, and when he saw them, he waved. "That's David Torres," Patricia said. "He's a pediatric nurse at Phoenix Children's. He volunteers here on Thursday nights, runs a support group for single fathers. She paused.